It's hard to sell something when it's you because our identity pairs with the product that you're selling. And so we try to sell things that aren't authentic to us. And when we get rejected, it becomes very uncomfortable because we think it's about a rejection of our identity, and it's the wrong way to think about it. And so somebody told me a long time ago, you can have the greatest peach tree in Georgia. Some people just don't want peaches, and that's okay. And it completely changed the way I sold my business. I wasn't trying to sell them. If I'm not the right fit for you right now, fine. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the person and where they are. Stop trying to force coaching on people who aren't ready for it because it's not going to work.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to the Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm Kevin. Today we are joined by Jim Frawley. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
Really excited. One of the things that I always love to ask on this podcast is the origin story, the lore. Can you tell me how you got started as a coach, and when was that moment that you realized that you wanted to turn this into a business?
So I had about a 20-year career in corporate training, executive communications, business strategy, investor relations. I did the full gamut. Executive communications was a big portion of that. And it was mostly in the financial industry. So it was coaching executives on communications and media training and all of those types of things from a PR perspective. But it was right through the financial crisis. So it was effectively like the worst job you could have at the worst possible time doing PR for the banks. And so throughout that time, it never really jazzed me. Although I worked with amazing people, but the work wasn't meaningful to me. And I went to a coach to say, what do I want to do with my career? And I put together a few business plans, did a whole bunch of ideas. None of them really struck out. And then I heard about this program at Columbia for executive coaching. And I said, oh, that's it. Like, it's just kind of clicked. I knew it. Sometimes you hear about a thing and you say, that's the one I'm going to do. And throughout that process, I realized I was still working in corporate, going through the program. And I found that I was incredibly hostile to authority. So that's why I knew I needed to get out of the corporate structure and go out on my own. And so what did that actually mean? And when I was thinking about the coaching program and the different business plans I put together and all of this type of work, I found that I was incredibly disappointed with the product that was out there from a coaching perspective. I had seen coaches, I had seen the workshops, I had seen all of that, and the product just wasn't good enough, and the work wasn't good enough, and a lot of it was just feeding the egos of the people presenting, and that really bothered me. Just from a value perspective, you know, if you're paying someone a lot of money to do this type of work, there has to be something real tangible for people. And so every time I sat through one of those presentations or one of the work or some of the coaches, I just knew that I'm like, this needs to be better, and I know I can do it better. And so my real focus was on driving value from an honest and trustworthy, something that I could be really proud of for my clients. And that, you know, I finished the program and flipped the switch, quit the next day, stayed on for a couple of quarters to help them out, but then it was off to the races, and that was 10 years ago.
It sounds like you have a different approach to coaching. Like, what do you feel like the main reason why clients choose to work with you versus like other coaches, I guess?
You know, when I first started, I had gone through a couple of years and it was fine. And then I went out on almost like kind of a, what am I doing with my career type of thing? And how's the business? And kind of a reflective morning. And I had this kind of aha moment where I realized I needed to have an opinion. And I didn't really have an opinion. I was just spitting back corporate lines and the stuff that I had heard in corporate and all of these types of things. And, you know, you get taught when you're trained to be a coach, you're taught that, you know, it's all about the client and you're not really supposed to, you know, push the client in a certain way. And I agree with that to a point. But at some point, you have to have an opinion. You have to teach. I mean, if you're going to be a coach, you have to find the things that people don't know what they're doing incorrectly or what you can see and the perspective and value that you have. I mean, my 20 years of corporate, I saw the executives who did really good things. I saw the executives that kind of missed the mark. And there were lessons in that. And I use those lessons to not just listen to clients. There's really, I hate to call it a program, but there's a lot of opinion I have on the right way to do things and finding the values that you have and the motivations that you have. But my philosophy on coaching is I don't take clients. There are basically three things. One is the client is always holding the bag at the end of the day, right? So this has nothing to do with me. It has to be about the client. And you have to make sure that they are coaching themselves at the end of an engagement. That's like a firm belief of mine. I don't believe in these 5-year coaching engagements where we meet weekly and I just listen to your problems. I don't take clients until, one, we outline the goals that we're going to have and that we're going to be successful in. 2, what is the end date when we're going to hit it? So it's never more than 6 months. If we're working more than 6 months, I put a hard stop. You go away for a quarter. And if there's more to work on, that's fine. Right? I'm not leaving anyone high and dry, but we have to have an end date and we have to have set goals that we're going to hit. And if at any point we're not going to hit it, or I don't feel like it's going to work in the way that I think it should work, we have a conversation on, do we just pull the plug or give the money back? And we just say, what's the best kind of next step for you? So I fired 3 clients. Some of them really hurt the pocketbook, but it was the right thing to do. And for me, as a business owner, my head has to go on the pillow every night, comfortable with what it is that I'm providing to my clients and that I'm actually delivering for my clients. So I'm big on an accountability focus for me as the coach, because I need to make sure that I'm actually providing value. Otherwise, I'm going to get bored. I'm just going to, it's not really something I want to do.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you have this concept of clear tangibles, clear cutoff dates and stuff. I think most other coaches don't do that. It almost reminds me of almost like a athletic coach approach. Are you into sports at all?
I am, yeah. I think it is a little athletic. And then it's also, I've got, law enforcement family, military family. I feel like I grew up in that kind of environment where it's like, what are you doing? And you have to kind of hit your goals and your targets. I've done the Ironman. I've done the marathon. I always kind of stretch for those types of goals. But if you're not pushing your clients to some kind of end goal with a timeline, then you're just basically, they're paying you to be a listener. And that's not, I'm happy to listen to anybody, of course, right? But I don't feel right charging them what I charge to just listen to their problems, right? I want to get you to where it is that you want to go. And if you're an athlete, whether you're a swimmer or a runner or whatever it is, that coach is pushing you to get to that next level at a certain point, right? There's always a race that you're going to be hitting. So there is a deadline. There's an imposed deadline. And if I don't put a deadline on me to push you there and that accountability, I don't feel like I can provide the right kind of value to people in the way that I really want to, that I want to be helpful.
Yeah, and it also sounds like, based off your previous experience, like you decided executive coach, coaching executives. I don't want to assume, but how did you decide your target audience or ideal client, I guess, or who you want to help?
So I spent a lot of time in middle management, and I really understand the pain of middle management. So I don't necessarily pitch myself for the C-suite type of work. I do a lot of that work. But the people I really love working with are just one level below who want to get to the C-suite, because I've seen the people who could do it. I understand the steps to get there. I understand the frustrations, and that's where I can provide real value. Is I fully understand the challenges that you're facing. And I feel like it's almost disingenuous for people just getting into coaching and say, oh, I'm going to coach the CEO and nobody else. If you haven't run a business, then you're out of your league. If you haven't managed a team, then don't sell yourself on team coaching. For people who are looking for coaches, you have to find someone you like, but you have to find someone who's certified and understands the arc of development, and the arc of change, and the arc of bringing adults on where they are. But they have to understand what you're actually dealing with, right? If you're just going to sit and listen to someone's problem, but you have no context, a lot of the work and understanding comes from that emotional pull of, I don't know how to have this difficult conversation with a person. I don't want to tell a person that they're going to be fired. I don't want to tell a person that they're not hitting a mark. I've sat in those conversations and I've been there. I've sat in those meetings. And so when I know emotionally, not just logically and technically what people have to go through and what they have to do, I know emotionally the struggle that people are dealing with. It's a very different conversation where we're kind of simpatico on what it is that you're actually looking to do. And we're not focused on the shiny ball necessarily. We have to go deeper, like 5 levels. It's not about what you care about. You say what you care about, but then why, and then why, and then why. And we can get really to the crux of what change are you actually looking to do.
It's really interesting too, because I think earlier you talked about clear outcomes and clear tangible outcomes, and how you told me that you like working with one below between the C-suite and stuff. That's a pretty clear transformation too. I can see why you kind of enjoy it.
I love it. It's because, you know what, when you think about corporate, there's 3 levels of thinking. And the head of HR told me this. The first level is you're a frontline employee. You're thinking about things in days and weeks. Then you might go up into management and you're middle management and you're thinking about things maybe in quarters, maybe your year goals, but that's really like the high end, but you're still kind of in the weeds a little bit. If you want to get up to that next level, it gets philosophical. And that's what I love. I love the thinking component, right? And so much of the work that I do now is building what is your executive philosophy? What's your philosophy on people management? What's your philosophy? Do you have a belief system? Do you know what a real question is? Most executives don't. And when you start to say, you know what, this is what I believe, not just in pushing a profit line or pushing a business, but the people around you. What's your philosophy on politics? What's your philosophy on relationships? What's your philosophy on success and luck and all of these things? When you give that actual meaning, all of a sudden you're thinking at that C-suite level where they're thinking in 3, 5, 10 years, because there is a much longer arc far beyond whatever that runway is going to be. Because when you hit the end of that runway, the senior executives who were successful, especially in 2008, they were the ones who had done the work in advance. And when we think about AI and the changes and all of that, when they hit the end of the runway, their belief system gives them the decision-making ability to get past whatever it is, the direction is that they're looking to go next.
Let's talk about business for a second. One of the things that I love hearing from our guests is kind of like the different business models, what's working for you as a coach at different stages, right? And so I guess where would you say you are at in your coaching journey right now? Are you more in the startup phase, the growth phase, the scaling phase? Would love to kind of hear your experience.
I have to be careful on this. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I feel like I'm at the top. I feel like I'm at the top of the game. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've done the full arc. I've done the one-on-one coaching, and my people who come, almost all of my business is referral based now. So I execute. My clients trust me, and they know that they are going to hit wherever it is that they're going to go. That being said, I think the coaching industry is evolving so quickly where many people, for the majority of what they use coaches for, are going to be able to use AI. I could probably use AI today, right? You know, many people are using ChatGPT as their kind of thought partner in doing these types of things. So where it's evolving, when I think about evolving the business and scaling the business, is one-on-one coaching is fine. It's good. I love my clients and I love working with them. They all have very similar challenges. And so it's become a system now where it's like, I've got the framework. Now I'm just learning about people, and that's really fun for me, right? I like working with them. But there's a lot more fun to do also, where how do you scale it to the full vertical of the organization? So now I'm doing more of the workshop thing, but it's not just workshops where people leave the typical workshop and they're going to say, okay, fine, but nothing changes. I take that same accountability structure to the workshop from a one-on-one. So anybody who comes into a workshop has to put an ROI pitch together on how this is going to benefit their business. They're leaving with tangible things, how it's going to change the way that they're working with their organization. I'm doing a lot of philosophical speaking, right? I'm working with the leadership teams on building their philosophy, but now they're building almost a corporate philosophy, right? It goes beyond culture, but what do we believe as a collective group? And then individually, and how do they mesh? And so it goes from not just coaching, but now it's workshops, it's leadership development, it's executive development. It's a lot more of the fun and interesting stuff that you're just not going to get from AI. And that's where I want to scale and build and really lean into doing more writing. I've got, 3 books in the queue on what are interesting to me, because for me, is we've got frameworks, and coaches have frameworks and beliefs in the way that systems should work and the way that a coaching program should work and where we should go. But going back to that opinion is, what's my opinion on philosophy? What's my opinion on how to finish things? What's my opinion on being social, and what's really necessary and impactful for people to respond to the change of AI when we don't know what change is coming? So how do you prepare for it in a really meaningful way? And that was the first book. How do you prepare for change when you don't know what change is coming? And that was a lot of the 2008 work. How do you build that and incorporate that into your daily philosophy, your daily work, your daily belief system, so that you know how to respond when big change comes?
One of the interesting things that you mentioned were your different containers, I guess, right? You mentioned, of course, one-on-one workshops. Are there any other containers or like revenue vehicles that you're looking to add or double down on, or just, I'd love to hear your experience about different revenue containers.
Yeah, the revenue could come in a lot of different ways. So I have 6 core beliefs that I generally operate, and I apply it to a lot of the different things that I work on. Revenue is not a driver for me. It's not a motivator for me. It's not, I had one client was paying me $50,000 a month to come in and run their hedge fund and do all kinds of stuff. I knew within 2 to 3 weeks, all the work we had done in advance wasn't going to work because they had made so many changes. I gave the $50,000 back and I said, this isn't going to be right. Now I could have stuck there and done it, we wouldn't have hit the goals, and taken the, not a motivator for me. I don't care about that stuff. So like for me, my big motivators, based on my personality assessments and everything, trust, altruism, like that kind of work, and developing people. If you give me someone who doesn't think they're going to hit something, I will get them to that. That is a big motivator for me. So when I think about different revenue lines, I think it's important just for lifestyle of, living and having a functioning business and all of that. But for me, that doesn't drive my decisions. I take clients that are interesting to me. So if I want to come up with a different revenue line, it has to be interesting to me. The public speaking, interesting to me. I've done it in the past. I do the podcast. I don't make any money off it. I do it because it's interesting. I do the workshops because I love having a group of people and seeing what they can build together. It's not for the revenue, but I do it because that's really interesting. And I love getting a group of people and having them see this realization. I do the one-on-one coaching, not for the revenue, but because I get to see them develop into the executive that they wish to be. So when I think about buckets of revenue from a coaching perspective, yeah, you've got your one-on-one, you've got your group, you've got your public speaking, but there are no rules. My first belief is no rules. There are no rules on the way we could do it. I've got one-on-ones who just want to meet once a month because they travel so much. Fine. You want to meet at 5:30? Fine. Like there are different ways that you can make it interesting. I've got clients who want to meet the first Friday of every month. Everyone comes in for breakfast and I pick a different topic to talk about. I've got clients who just pull me in with no set agenda where it's just talking and people have a venting session, but it's more about this learning kind of philosophical exercise where we go in and say, all right, what are you thinking about? What's important? And people know what to come in and to prepare. And it becomes this 2-hour discussion with the group on real challenges that they have. And we workshop things in the moment. So there are no real rules in terms of finding revenue. It's more about meeting the client where they are and then packaging something that's going to be relevant to them, so that it could be really impactful and valuable, so that at the end of the workshop, they're not coming back to me to say, oh, well, we didn't really change anything. Everybody's leaving with something that's going to evolve. So it's about meeting the client where they are.
I really like that too, that approach, and it definitely fits your personality. It's really interesting. Maybe it's the way you speak, but you kind of remind me of like a FBI hostage negotiator, Chris Voss. Have you ever heard of him? Like your tonality and stuff.
All right, I'll take it. I mean, it's. I think what people know about me is I'm no BS. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
And if we're not going to get to where we are, then like stop wasting everybody's time. Don't waste my time. Don't waste your time. Like I don't want that kind of. It's just not right. I feel like there's a lot of snake oil in this industry. There are a lot of people who are just going for the revenue, and I think that's damaging to the industry. A lot of people are going to sell coaching and then they give you a coach they're paying $12 an hour for. And it's just not a good model because the people aren't changing. And I've had so many conversations with individuals and organizations. Have you ever worked with a coach and they say, yeah, but it wasn't very good. All right. Okay, fine. Tell me why. And then, I fix the challenges that they had with previous coaches. But then I've had conversations with teams where the head of the group is like, I'm firing all the coaches. The people going through coaches are doing worse than the other ones. You kind of explore a little bit and you find out they're paying astronomical amounts for something that's just not valuable. And they're not making change and they're not driving any kind of, I say, well, what are the success metrics? And they have no success metrics for coaches and there's no accountability. And just to my core, it's just not right. And I want to make an impact. I want to be helpful. And that's, I'm fortunate. It's driven the business that I have, right? It's taken me a number of years, but people now know when they're working with me, they're going to get what they signed up for. And that's what drives revenue for me is the referrals and everything else is this trustworthiness that I've built, this honesty that I've built. And if I can't help, I have plenty of people that, I'm not the right fit for you, but I know someone who is, then I'm happy to just kind of look this person, I'll make the introduction and you guys run with it. So it's about making sure a person's going to get where they are. And I feel good about getting them there.
Yeah. Let's talk about marketing because you did mention referrals. You do have a very strong opinion about things, and I'm sure that like attracts people to you. But what kind of marketing have you tried so far? It sounds like you've done podcasts, you get referrals. Very curious on your own.
Yeah, I've tried it all. I did the advertising, the social thing. I've hired the agencies. I've done all that kind of stuff. And it never quite worked, but I learned a lot going through the process. And so what I found, nothing drives business more for me than anything else than in-person social interaction. People have to meet me and they trust me. And like, that's how we build a relationship. And years down the road, I'm getting calls from people saying, you know what, I met you, you talked about it. Let's talk more about what's possible. I don't send cold emails. I don't do any of that. I find it annoying. I believe that for coaching to work, the person being coached has to want to be coached. They have to be ready for it. So I'm not trying to push a square peg into a round hole. Online advertising, I just don't want to do it. It's inauthentic. Everything's being marketed to. The whole dynamic of marketing has changed where we're just inundated with too many messages that I don't find an authentic way to say what I do that people can believe. So I could tell you that I'm honest, but people just don't believe it in advertising or anything else. So what I found the best way to do it is to get my opinion out. So that's why I do the podcast. I used to work in radio. I started the podcast like 5 years ago. I don't advertise the podcast, but I build it as a library so that when I meet someone and they check me out, they can see my philosophy and my belief and my work there. Yes. I'll post some videos on. I'm doing that a little bit more. I don't like doing it. I hate social media. I hate everything about it. I don't really consume it, but I recognize its value. That's where people kind of discover you. So yeah, from a marketing perspective, I think about marketing as building a library so that when you meet someone, when they look you up, they can see, is this person just new talking about whatever? They say, oh no, this guy's 150 episodes over 5 years. This guy's kind of let me see what he says about why middle management sucks. Let me see why he says, whatever the topic is, how to communicate to the C-suite. And they could see how I think about things. And that has become such a driver for new business where I've gotten calls from strangers saying, I heard about you. I heard your podcast. That's exactly what I want. Let's just kind of get started. And then we go through kind of the onboarding process. Are we the right fit? And we go through that kind of thing. So that's how I think about marketing. I don't need to pull in 500 new clients, a month. And I'm not looking to scale in that kind of way because I can't give them the attention and focus that they deserve.
Yeah, that's really interesting, by the way, that you mentioned in real life events. I was actually talking to a pretty high level coach, also kind of like you, referral. Like he's at the point where he doesn't want to scale. He doesn't want new clients or anything like that. And he was telling me that like real life events are such a huge driver. And if he was to start from day one, that's what he would do all over again. So it's really interesting 100%. That you guys share same philosophy.
Look, this is, if you're launching a business, it's not a short-term thing. You don't try and get a client and you just kind of do it. And people are struggling at the beginning trying to get these clients. You're building relationships over time. I'm getting calls from people I knew 10 years ago. Right, where they say, I've been following you. I see you. I see what you're doing. Now I'm ready to do it. Fine. I want to help anybody I can actually help. I want to work with everybody. But if you're not ready and, the parameters aren't right for us to really hit what it is that you want to do, if I'm not the right person, that's fine. Right. It's okay. Like that's fine to move on. And so the clients I work with, I don't take them for more than 6 months intentionally. Right. So in terms of scaling, yes, I need to meet new people, but I never take more than 10 clients at a time because I'm focused on them. Right. Maybe like up to 12, but they're all at different times and they kind of go. But I know that once we start working 6 months, like we'll have other calls and everything beyond that. But like for a coaching program, I'm not taking more than 10 at a time because I'm doing these other things as well. Workshops, consulting, like all that other type of work. What's your people strategy for the organization? So I've got plenty to keep me busy. But if I'm going to take you as a client, one-on-one, we are focused on you and I'm not having anything distract that.
One thing I'm very curious about is where do you want this coaching business to take you in the next few years? Do you have any secret dreams, big ambitions that no one knows about? Very curious on your own.
Yeah, I think it's, if I were to talk about my dreams, I've done a lot of work on myself over the past few years, just as much as I'm coaching clients. And so I used to think I wanted the attention and all that kind of stuff. I don't. It's just not important to me. I'm not interested in creating AI products, which a lot of coaches are doing. I'm not interested in any of that type of thing. What I really enjoy is writing and speaking. I love doing it. I love the podcast, but the reason I love doing that is because it helps me frame out my perspective. And that's what I think people pay for. People pay for your perspective. They don't pay for a program for you to sit through because it's not going to adapt to you. Your perspective adapts to another person and they can learn from that. And that's where the real meaty discussion goes through. So If I'm going to find my goal for the next 1 to 3 years, it's how do I challenge my perspective on what's important to me? And then I could leverage that for other people. I have 3 books in the queue. I want to write those books. And then I might, who knows, pitch a TV show or something just for fun and kind of do something like that. I love what I do. And I think the work I do is incredibly important. Maybe I do evolve it into some kind of bigger scale thing for visibility. But for me, it's how to reach more people to help them without them having to pay a big fee, right? I think more of my interest is how do you make coaching more accessible to everybody, to challenge their own perspectives and get them to be learners, get them to be thinkers, but it would have to be authentic and real and impactful. I love the idea of putting on events, like big, large scale events where people can really be impacted, but I haven't done it yet because I don't want it to be like this Tony Robbins kind of nonsense kind of thing. I want it to actually work. So I'd have to put real thought into that, but I could see myself evolving into something like that.
Have you ever considered like hiring other coaches to help like spread your impact?
I've thought of it. I don't want to do it. I've hired people before. The reason I don't like hiring, and I've gone all consultant based now, one, I don't want that added responsibility of pulling in business. It changes my thought process where now I have to take business that may not be right because I got to bring in the revenue because I got to pay these coaches. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
So what I have done, being in the industry as long as I have a network of coaches who have their own business that I trust implicitly. One's an expert in negotiation. One's an expert in public speaking. One's an expert. So for these other areas that people really need kind of specific work, or maybe they're looking to get on boards. I know people who are experts at getting onto boards. Fine. I'll just pass that business over. I don't take referral fees or anything else. It's about getting that person where, and I'll make the introduction. So I don't really have an interest. There is a model of hiring a lot of coaches, taking that big check, and then taking the 50% off the top and passing off. I don't like that at all. I don't feel like people are being met. And I also don't find if people are buying from me, I feel like they should get me. And I haven't found someone who does things in the exact way that I do it. I mean, you said before my vibe and my tone and everything else. I don't feel right selling something and then having somebody else deliver it. It may be good, but I have to make sure it's the right fit. And that just distracts me from doing what it is that I really want to do. So no, I'm not interested in hiring coaches, but I do refer business out. And I do have my network. So it's not like the official hiring, but I've got the business built and the framework built that meets the needs of everybody that needs it.
Earlier, you mentioned about taking a coaching program back when you first started. And that reminds me of playing this game. It's called Good Investment, Bad Investment. And I'm so curious about the best thing you spent your money on for your coaching business and the worst thing.
Okay. I'll tell you the worst right off the bat. One was marketing, and two was there was another program that I had done that basically they'd been there for years, and then they just decided to close up shop and keep everybody's money. So like there's a buyer beware component in coaching. So those were just bad investments. One, the marketing was inauthentic to me. They asked me for all my cell phone numbers so that they could text people. Like it was all just not good. So lessons learned, right? A lot of lessons learned in those types of things. Bad investments where you just kind of say, all right, move on. Like I'm not going to dwell on it. The best investments I made, one was 100% the Columbia program, changed my entire perspective. I learned so much about the Columbia program. It was expensive. I paid for it out of pocket and it was worth it. Mm-hmm. It is the best coaching program that is out there, and I will die on that hill. I've seen other coaching programs and I've talked to other coaches going through other programs, but there was nothing like the Columbia program, which is Columbia University. It's part business school, part teachers college. So it's all neuroscience based, research based. Yes. But not just what they taught, the people I was sitting with executives from Nike, from Brazil, from Australia, from like all these, from around the world. So these perspectives that I got, who I'm still in touch with, Mexico City, like they were coming from everywhere. These were senior executives. These were really good people. And I have these relationships still. So it really helped me as I pieced my business together. It surrounded me by the people. So when you think about what program you're going into, who are you surrounding yourself with, I think is a really good question. So that was pristine investment that I would do it 100 times over. The other ones I would say were investments in myself. I think a good investment for the business don't necessarily cost money. And so when I think about discovering who I was, I mean, I quit drinking 7 years ago. That was a big investment in myself, and it was to help me become a better business person and everything else. I think that was a good investment, an emotional investment. I went off last year and did an ayahuasca journey. I think I needed that. That was an important investment for me. It changed my perspective and helped me get through a whole bunch of different things. So when I think about investments in you, it may not cost money, but you have to invest. I can't help others if I can't help myself. And so that was the investments I've been making now aren't necessarily in scaling the business and doing these other things and getting people. It's investment in what are you delivering as an individual to another human being. And that's where I think my best investments have been.
You don't strike me as an ayahuasca guy.
I saw your face as you.
It's like I'm not ayahuasca.
Yeah, it's. No, I'm not. Yeah. Like I'm not a psychedelic person. I'd never done psychedelics. I saw an interview about ayahuasca, and I just needed to do it. Like, it was one of those things where I'm like, there was no question in my mind that I needed to deal with some things that I needed to deal with. And it was wild. It was an emotional train wreck that, I mean, it was over a year ago. I'm still kind of working through some of that stuff, but it was so important for me. It helped me as a father, as a husband, as a business owner. Like, it was really, really impactful for me. That changed my belief system and what's important to me, and how I can in turn deliver to my clients and everybody else.
Yeah. Last question.
Okay.
Knock on wood. Hopefully this doesn't happen, but let's say you lost your business, and if you had to start over tomorrow with 0 followers, 0 clients, 0 connections that you have right now, but you have all the knowledge that you have now, what do the first 90 days look like to you?
First 90 days, I will say this. First thing I have to do is as often as possible, in-person social interaction. 100%. Get out, see people, meet people, not for the purpose of selling your business, but for the purpose of building relationships, right? Many people think about networking. They say, oh, I got to sell my business. I got to do this. Let me tell you about my business. Let me tell you. No, that's not what you do. Nobody's going to buy anything from you if they don't know who you are. So you get out and you just meet as many people as possible. Tell them what you do if they ask, but it's more about understanding who they are and what's interesting to them. The point of networking is to get people to like you and make a connection. And think about networking as these people, I'm going to have to talk to them in 10 years about what I did, and you want them to be on your side. So that's number one, in-person social interaction. Build your friends, build your network, and get people. You don't have to like everyone. They don't have to like you, but they have to trust you and do that. And you do that through kind of just normal, no agenda interactions. That's one. Number two, you have to have an opinion. What is your opinion about what executive development or executive coaching should be? Not just what other people tell you, but what do you believe from a coaching perspective? What's important from running a business, and for the clients you wish to work with, what's important from your perspective that they need to learn or to do? So you need to have an opinion. And then number three, the advice I give to everybody launching a business, and I heard this when I was launching my business, we spend so much time. It's hard to sell something when it's you, because our identity pairs with the product that you're selling. Mm-hmm. And so we try to sell things that aren't authentic to us. And when we get rejected, it becomes very uncomfortable because we think it's about a rejection of our identity, and it's the wrong way to think about it. And so somebody told me a long time ago, you can have the greatest peach tree in Georgia. Some people just don't want peaches, and that's okay. And it completely changed the way I sold my business. I wasn't trying to sell them. If I'm not the right fit for you right now, fine. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the person and where they are. Stop trying to force coaching on people who aren't ready for it, because it's not going to work. And somebody may want to maybe more comfortable with a female coach. Someone may be more comfortable with a real blue collar kind of guy, or a real kind of buttoned up investment banker type of guy, like whatever. Fine, like whatever. Yeah. It has to match. And so if you're not the right fit for someone, that's totally okay. It has nothing to do with you. It's like dating. How many people, maybe wanted to go out on a date with you and we're like, yeah, you're not the right fit for me. Sorry. Right? That's okay. It's the same thing. Right? It may not be, you're not a bad person, right? But if I don't want to date you, that has nothing to do with it. We'll go have coffee, we'll hang out, but we're not going to like build a relationship like that. That's okay. So as you think about building your clients, don't focus so much on closing business. Build something, a business school will tell you, if you're launching a business, you think about that business existing into perpetuity. That's how you should be thinking about your business into perpetuity, relationships, doing the right thing, and having these people want to come back to you. That's so important. And that's core to what I believe of building a business in the right kind of way. And it's easy to be distracted from that. But again, belief system, what do you believe? What's your opinion is so important.
Speaking about belief systems, Jim, how can people find you and connect with you?
Yeah, the website's jimfrawley.com. I'm on socials. Sometimes I get spurts of videos that I'll put up, but it's Jim Frawley NY on the socials. The podcast is called Jim's Take, but I'm around. If you Google Jim Frawley, I'm sure you'll find some stuff. Or come to one of the places where I'm, networking, and come say hello. In-person social, Perfect. That's the best.
There's so much I'm taking away from here. I really love how you have just like, you're a bit contrarian, which I love, and you really question things, and it's not from a ill intent way, right? I think about those athletic coaches because I do jiu-jitsu, I do MMA, and I think about my coach, right? He says some stuff like in the background and stuff, and he really wants the best for you, and you're just trying to drive those results. So that's like the main takeaway I'm getting. It's really refreshing, actually, speaking to you.
That's great. Look, it's why we exist, right? It's why we should exist. And I think it's very, very important to have that North Star to drive your decisions. And I'm fortunate that I've had the time to do it and build it over time, where that it's evolved into this, that I'm able to do it in the way that I want.
Thank you, Jim, for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.